Well, we're going to be painting the caliper on a 2000 Chevy Malibu. So the first thing we want to do to get started is let's pull that cap off that tire or off the rim. Slide that to the back of you. Don't scratch it up. Keep that face up. Okay. Now you're going to set yourself up. Get your jack set up underneath there. It's a little dark here, so we're going to be using a little light. Set up your jack. He's setting his jack up to bring up the tire and take the weight off the rim. So he's getting it all set up, and in the same breath we have a safety block over here that we're going to put underneath there once he gets it jacked up. Safety first. So he is jacking up the car, and he's going to stop there because now he's going to set up his block. Let's get the block under there for safety. Looks like he's all set. Now he's going to grab his impact wrench and he's going to spin the bolts loose. Take 3 off, loosen 2, and then we'll take the tire off the ground. So he's taking 3 off right away. We have the weight off the tire, so we're not worried about not having enough strength to hold the tire and the car up. If you get stuck in there, you screw it back onto the car with your hand and go the opposite direction. Go tightening it and then jiggle it back and forth. Get it off that lug nut. So he's going to run all the bolts, 3 bolts off, then he's going to jack it out. Drop them real quick and move on to the next one. Yeah. They get a little loose, snug, yeah, just snug them off. They get like that sometimes. So now he's got all the lug nuts loose. He's going to go up just enough. That's good right there. And he's going to pull that tire away from there. Pull it away and roll it out to the side. Now for safety, we're going to let the jack down a little bit so it rests on the block and the jack. Just enough. Good. Now give the jack 1 crank up, put some weight back on the jack. Okay. Now he's going to get in and he's going to turn the wheel with the caliper facing out. So if we get at the caliper bolts, we are going to have to take this caliper off so we don't get everything painted. Okay, now that we have that, we are going to take the cover off the brakes. And we're going to put a rag right around it so nothing seeps out into the motor area. And he is going to reach down in here, and because these brakes are tight up against that rotor, he's going to put the screwdriver in there, and it's going to, when he pries, it's going to loosen so we can get the caliper off without fighting. Okay, now he's going to check the rotor and it's loose. That means when we take these bolts off, this caliper will slide right off there. Okay, so now that we have done that, we are going to take off the caliper bolts that hold the caliper on. So go ahead and take off the caliper bolt. Now if you notice, as he's taking that bolt off, there's a sleeve. He's pointing at a sleeve. That's called a floating sleeve. If that turns with the bolt, you must stop that bolt. So he's going to put a vice grip on there just to hold it lightly. So he's going to snap that on there. And sometimes the floating bolt sleeve will go with the bolt. So now he's going to continue. And he's going to hold. And he's just going to roll it off till it gets real easy. Then you know the sleeve will stop rolling with it. That should move back and forth as a sleeve. If it ever doesn't, that's a whole new subject. We will get into that if you ever had that problem, because it must be a rolling sleeve. He's going to put the bolt back in just a little bit because he's going to want to hold the top. So he's going to screw it back in just a little bit so he has some hold. Okay, that's good. Now he's going to take the vice grip off and he's going to do the bottom next. Okay, now that he has the bolts loose, to make things easy, we won't paint on the car, but we will wire brush it while it sits there. But he is already ready to take it off once it's wire brushed. So he's going to start his wire brushing. And you should be wearing your mask. You have your mask. He has his mask and his safety glasses on. So he's going to wire brush as much as he can get from there. It's going to be dusty, and this is nothing you want to be breathing in. This is brake dust. Straighten those fins. You straighten those fins, you will come right straight, but you have to be perfectly straight. Put two hands on the drill. Hold that drill. Don't push too tight. Don't push too tight. Check your drill, see if it's loose now. Get a nice even spin out of it and don't force it. But that wire brush will go inside those fins. A lot of them don't have fins, so his is a little different. Some of them are just straight up. So he's going to clean the whole thing off. So he is doing all of the rotor from here. He's going to get up inside all of the upper ends, the sides, and we will have to do some once it's off. But we're getting the most of it now. He's got those fins pretty cleaned out now, and that's good because we need this paint to stick. He's going to come to the front now. He's going to work on the front area right up in there. Yeah, that looks good. He's getting a good bite out of it. He gets most of it done. Run up the top section here if you can. There you go. Well, he seems to have gotten it pretty clean, but now he's going to take the caliper off and he's going to rest it on this block. So he's going to slide a block under there, put it close as you can to the caliper, but still be able to get at them bolts. Okay, so start taking them bolts out. Should be able to do it by hand. Keep your bolts off to the side. Since we had loosened up the rotor from the shoes, and he's able to hold that center piece with his finger. Alright, now he's going to slightly lift that right off there and set it on the block. It should slide right off, easy, because we don't want to move the brake shoes. It doesn't matter, we can always put them back. So now he's going to set it up on the block. And we're going to clean some areas we couldn't get at. So he's going to turn it to a side or over. Easy, no pressure on the brake line. Turn it over. And we're going to try to get some of this front. You see the dirty spots up front, that's what he's after. So we're going to clean up all the sides, and once we know it's clean, we will be ready to do some covering for some paint work. Well, he seems to have her completely cleaned off. It looks very nice. Now he's going to cover as much of the car as possible to get ready to do the spray paint. So there's a lot of coverage. You don't want to be spraying against anything else. So he is going to completely cover up inside here. We don't care about the block or the jack. So you can see he is shooting small shots, not too far away, because the further away you get, it may get on the body of the car. So just be very careful. He's going to start shooting shots all over the whole thing so we can get all the areas. We're going to make sure everything is getting covered. The little shots is all we need, keeping all the paint right in the center. It's got to come down on this side. Make sure you're shooting in there. There you go. Okay. Looks good. Looks really good. Give me a couple more little shots on top and on your side, over on that side. Want to make sure we get enough over on that side. And look at your fins. Your fins look like they're good back there. Just little shots, but careful. You're shooting towards the car. Okay. That looks pretty good. Now he's got to get them little lips underneath there, because underneath that section down there is going to be two little lips, and one on each side. No, on the sides. Go to the sides. That way down. Touch the wood and right up in here. Let me show you. You want to get down in here. There's a hidden lip. You can't see that. You can almost lay it on the floor and see it.
Right there.
Okay. So you want to get those. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Now, I wouldn't worry about the temperature. I mean, this is a perfect temperature to be doing this, but even if it's not, calipers will get hot. So once you're going down the road, this will heat up and it will be a very good bond. That looks really good. Because it's a little cooler out, we're working at night. We're going to add a little bit of heat from our little torch. Safety. Just a little heat. Nothing major. He's checking to see how far, and then he's just going to go back and forth. It will dry the paint well enough where we will be able to put it on without scratching it up or scarring it in any way. And we'll let it cure on its own. After double checking and putting a little heat on there to cure it up, he is going to be removing all the rags now. We are ready to start the assembly. So he's going to get the 2 bolts that he needs and put them somewhere close. And he is going to pick the caliper up from the rear side and try to slide it back on. And use your fingers up front like you're doing. Okay, now he's going to start by putting 1 bolt in. Find the line up. Move it around if it's not going in. You'll find it. There it is. Now you can leave that one to rest and go for your bottom one. You move your block out now. You'll have to lift up a little bit on the back, being careful not to touch too much paint. Making sure it goes into where it belongs. Bring it up just a little. There you go, until you feel the thread starting to connect. Wind them in as far as you can. Hold that, yeah, if you can hold that. Just hold there. The floating sleeve he's holding. Now he's going to tighten those bolts up. Careful not to touch the caliper. It's still curing. It'll cure itself because calipers get warm, obviously, from braking. So he's tightening it all up. Since the floating sleeve is trying to float, he's going to lay that down or hold it, and he is going to tighten that one up. Don't take much. Grab the top of your socket, leave it on there, grab the top of your socket, and you're going to give it a snug. Slide your hand up to the top and pull towards me. There you go. Just a little snug. That's all you need. Those don't have to be too critical. You don't want them to freeze up. He's going to do the same to the bottom. And if he has to hold the floating sleeve, he will. Okay, so he's got all that together. He is going to straighten the wheel back out, or actually the rotor, so he can put the wheel back on. So he's going to give it a turn, bring it back to the center, and that looks good. Not too far, it looks good right there, looks good. Makes it easier. Now, it's very important when you put this tire on that you do not touch that paint. It won't touch it once it's bolted tight, but as you slip the tire on, it may. So now he's going to grab his impact wrench, and he's going to crisscross when he puts these bolts on, lightly to start with. Crisscross off. So now that he's got them all on, now the next time we do this, he's going to run it until it stops. The impact wrench will stop, and you will see that. Crisscross again. That way the tire is on evenly. We're going to give it one, I always give it 1, 2, crisscross 1, 2, and then we know where. Okay, so now he's going to slip the cap back on. We are done in there. Now it's time to put away the material in his way and pull out the block, the safety block. Okay, all he has left is to lower the jack. Careful of yourself when you're lowering. Bring her all the way down. Okay. Put the bar back in and slide your jack out. Now he's going to leave that there for a minute. He's going to come over and he's going to pull all this away from the brake cylinder and put the cover back on. Now, it's very, very important. He's going to get inside the car and he's going to repump the brakes. The reason he does that is because I let the brakes open a little bit so he could remove the caliper, and it will have a change. He's going to pump it up about 5 or 6 times and tell me that it feels good.
Very loud.
Feel good?
Yep.
All right, then we're good to go. Now your brakes are back where they need to be and your pedal is back where it needs to be. You're done. And that actually looks pretty nice. Looking good. It's looking good. Okay. Matthew's in the car. He's going to start it up and he's going to roll back just enough where we can get a picture of the rotor. Roll back just a little slower. Okay, so we can see that. Okay, that looks great. That's perfect. Both sides are done.